This is Rating Descending,
where we watch IMDb's Worst 250 so you don't have to.
My name is Abigail Ward.
And my name's Michelle St. Clair.
And tonight we watched 50 Shades of Grey. Literature student Anastasia Steele's life changes forever when she meets handsome yet tormented billionaire Christian Grey. Let's watch! Michelle, do I have ADHD?
Yes. It's an easy yes. That's your opening? Yes, absolutely. This is so easy. I've been telling you this.
I came over today and before we were recording, I was describing to Michelle certain concentration issues I have. And Michelle has poked and prodded at me for years to think about if I have ADHD, but I have never wanted to think about it.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's diagnosed so often. I'm like, everyone has concentration issues. Everyone.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Not everyone has concentration issues, and certainly not to the severity that you do. But also, not even just concentration issues. You have a long track record with things like lateness and losing track of time and getting very distracted. I remember in the early days of recording, I would I would tell you, but also friends, of how I would sometimes have to fight to keep you to stop you would just interact with everything around you.
Yeah.
So idly.
Yeah. True.
Which also happens when we're writing and when we're doing stuff in general.
Yeah.
I think that's why your favorite bit is yes, but is you're like, yeah, but sorry, my brain's thinking of this thing.
I don't know. I think everyone does have concentration issues, but maybe it's just that some people get them occasionally, whereas I seem to get them all the time. All the time.
Look, I do want to say, obviously, when there's talk of overdiagnosis, there's both that is potentially an issue. We're also not yet sure if it is an issue genuinely, if it is statistically an actual problem, as opposed to also just more people being aware of it.
Yeah.
Especially because there was an older issue of overdiagnosis, in particular just because it was young boys, and that was in the era where it was seen as only boys have ADHD. I literally saw a comment from someone on Twitter who insisted that she couldn't have ADHD because that's just a boys thing.
Oh.
Yeah. But also during the pandemic, there's a lot of things where symptoms get exacerbated because you're just inside a lot. And so that is part of why there's been a larger raft of more recent diagnoses of ADHD and autism, and even people realizing that they're trans. You're spending a lot of time inside and not having to do those systems and management things.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a lot to consider. When I was a kid, the definition of there was 2 or 3 kids at school or at primary school that had ADHD, and it was something their parents would talk about and talk to the teachers about, and they would have very specific plans around it. And I remember one girl that I went to primary school with, Beth, she had ADHD. And it was so, you could just tell she was really just she was all over the place. She was incredibly excitable, incredibly loud, kind of a difficult kid. And, it was something her mum always talked about Beth's got ADHD. So that was my only understanding of it, was just...
Yeah.
It was for those excitable kids that you went to primary school with.
And that's the thing that became the cultural perception of the person who's really over energetic. Oh my God, look, a squirrel. Ha 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 ha. Which is not really the reality for a lot of people. It's a way broader thing than just someone who is generally up and excited.
I think once the novelty of something wears off, I have trouble concentrating on it.
Yeah. No, I've seen it. I've seen it for sure. There's been a lot of times where you're talking about something and then I'll give you a look and that I'm going this is an ADHD thing, and you go, shut up.
Yeah. I've been in denial. It's something I should talk to someone about.
Yeah.
So I can get drugs.
Yeah, so that you can
get fucked up.
You can get medicine.
And get fucked up.
So you can get medicine. You need help, all right? There's nothing wrong with you. You just need help.
I don't know. It is something to consider. It is. Because I was saying to you, out of 5 days, I spend one day maybe feeling productive and focused, and then the other 4 days, I'm all over the place.
Abby, it doesn't have to be this way.
I love the struggle.
That's
What can I say?
Hashtag addicted to the struggle.
Loving the grind.
Loving the grind.
Sometimes I feel like I don't have any control over whether or not I can get something done because I can't sit down and force myself to do it sometimes.
You know what I should have done before we started this episode is I should have opened up like an ADHD diagnosis thing and just start filling it out while you start talking.
Oh my God. Going to issue me a prescription at the end of this episode. Get help.
Yeah, like obviously I'm unlicensed, but that's okay, baby.
That's all right.
That's all right.
My doctor, Michelle St. Clair.
Yeah.
Is she legal? Oh, no.
No.
No. Registered? No way.
But the doctor is in.
No, you've given me some something to ruminate on.
Some food
Not
for
that
thought.
you haven't brought it up multiple times before.
Yeah.
There's just something about today that really made me reconsider. But as I keep saying, like the reason I feel like it's overdiagnosed is that like all of our friends have it. But as we know, people tend to gravitate to people that are like them.
Because that's the thing though, is that yes, a large amount of our friends do have it. However, then we as a group go and talk to other people and none of them do.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that you don't.
Yeah, the percentage in our friend group is very high, but the percentage with most people is still very low.
Yeah. Like in our friend group, a lot of us are gay. That doesn't mean that it's like, oh, well, according to this, only 1 out of 20 people is straight. Holy shit.
Yeah,
wow. That's a bad sample.
That's true.
Yeah, it is true, isn't it? It is
Yes.
true, though, isn't it? When you think about it.
Actually, yes.
It's actually quite a good point, don't you think?
Look, being self-aware has not always been my strong suit, you know?
I can't believe we're both people who struggle with like concentration and we make ourselves watch these like the most intolerable, boring fucking movies every week.
I mean, Thugs of Hindustan had me wrapped for 3 hours.
That's true. I couldn't take my eyes away from the car crash of Food Fight.
Yeah.
A movie that was clearly rendered during a literal car crash.
But I will say, you know, concentration can be an issue in this podcast. When we watch things like Devil's Due, I'm like, can I do this?
Oh, yeah.
Can I?
There have been times, especially with the found footage ones, I can't remember which one in particular. There was one that I did have to watch over 4 different sittings.
Yeah.
And
I remember that.
I've said this to you before. I do sometimes watch these movies more than once, and it's usually because I watch it and then I go, I don't think I really saw that movie. I don't think I know I can't talk about it for an hour.
I've definitely like watched films in the past and then I've had to stop and think, I haven't paid attention for the last 20 minutes and I have to go back to the last time that I can remember paying attention.
Yeah.
With Devil's Due, I just had to sit there with my eyes pried open with matchsticks.
I'm always convinced I can do something at the same time and I can't.
No. Yeah, you can't multitask with these things. You want to, and look,
You need to spiritually.
with Devil's Due, I was able to multitask because there was just a long periods of time where nothing was actually happening.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was just people chatting and getting together and having a good time, having a barbecue. But
Yeah.
guys, I think something's wrong with my head. I need help.
Hey, no, nothing's wrong with you. You just need medicine. You just need some of them legal amphetamines, baby.
Yeah.
Ooh.
They taste extra good when they're legal.
Oh, you're having trouble concentrating? How about you microdose speed?
Yeah, my favorite.
Nummy nummy. Ooh, speedy, nummy nummies.
Speaking of nummy nummies on cummy cummies,
Oh, what?
this week
What?
we watched 50 Shades of Grey. Shut the fuck up, Michelle.
That's gotta be one of our most abstract pivots.
Abstract Abigail, that's what they call me.
Is it?
It's okay. They could.
Anyway, let's go
like
on like
it.
3 tangents. It's me channeling Abby energy.
This week we watched 50 Shades of Grey.
We did it, finally. We're closing out the trip. It ends as it begins.
Oh my goodness.
We are finishing the trilogy with its first entry.
Were all of them on the list?
Yeah, we watched Darker and Free.
Okay,
Both
we did.
of them were in
We
the
did.
first 50.
Yeah, they were a while
It's
ago.
a huge gap between
Yeah.
50 Shades Freed and this.
It was good to go back to the OG.
There is no way that this movie is worse, especially not this much worse, than either Darker or Freed.
It was better than both of them.
Easily.
100%.
It's not good, but like it's nowhere near as bad as either of those.
And the director, Sam Taylor Johnson, she's not bad.
Yeah.
She's done I liked Nowhere Boy.
Yeah,
Back
I
in the
liked
day.
Nowhere Boy.
Yeah, even though people fucking despise her because she married Aaron Johnson and there is a huge age gap. But I feel like a lot of the time the female partners of like young attractive men get absolutely fucking trashed.
I think we sometimes conflate things that have the potential or are frequently problematic with inherently problematic.
Yes.
It's not inherently problematic there being an age gap if they just love each other.
Yeah, and look, they've stayed together. They are raising a family together.
Yeah.
He seems to love her. She loves him. Seems like a great move on their part. If it was a man that was like 42, a director that got together with like his 18 or 19-year-old leading woman, I'd find that a bit strange. But hey, if they developed a healthy, happy relationship, that sounds great. Fantastic.
Yeah. Like it's fine. It's just that sometimes it is masking for something else, but that doesn't mean it necessarily is. We have a weird like youth purity culture that's developed around a lot of things to do with relationships and sex.
Look, a lot of the time these things do come hand in hand with something potentially more sinister or problematic, but then sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes it's just two people fall in love, and that's great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I mean, think of the fact that like Olivia Wilde got absolutely trashed because she started dating Harry Styles.
She got criticized way more
No one gave a shit until she started dating him. And then everyone was like, do you know she's a fucking bitch?
People were going in so hard. Like I was into the Don't Worry Darling drama because it's the only time that I get into like drama is when it's that sort of like really heightened, like around the award shows. But people were really digging into Olivia Wilde in a way that is not replicated with a lot of men who do the same thing.
100%. I think it's like almost a death sentence getting together with Harry Styles. Like your reputation will be absolutely torn apart. Yeah. But hey, they broke up and she might have made it through. Probably not. She's probably, people just hate her forever now.
Maybe.
What a bitch for dating Harry Styles.
How dare she?
We own him. How dare she come into his life?
He belongs to us.
He's ours.
The girlies and the gays.
Back off.
I saw him described as gay for straights recently, and so accurate.
It's so true.
So accurate.
Yeah. It's because he presents a little bit femme sometimes, and people are like losing their mind.
Yeah. We see any person that we think is straight presenting, any man who we think is straight, presenting a little femme, and then we call them a trailblazer and a hero for doing the most milquetoast version of like, for one, what gay men have been doing for a very long time. But then also like it weirdly feels like it's just reinforcing the patriarchy rather than undermining it, because they're going, look at them being special for like going outside of the normal box. Well, they're a hero, because normally that would make me think that they're fucking queer. Like, it's not anything. That's
something that I find really annoying. And I observed this with Claude and myself, because we're a man and a woman. And I think that like when we met each other, we liked that in some respects we did non-traditional things that is expected of our gender. That's what attracted us to each other in a way. Like he liked that I could be very forthright and outspoken and very passionate and a bit self-obsessed. I think he liked that because that's what men do. And I liked that he was really like soft and emotionally aware and emotionally available, and really I liked his sensitivity because that's what women do. And I think that was really nice. But it annoyed me that men can get rewarded just for being kind, and that's thought as progressive and trailblazing. Is the idea of like a sensitive, emotionally aware man is revolutionary, and what a great guy. And it's like, but that's what women do all the time. You just want to reward us for being assholes,
which again,
because that's what men are. Because
we go, well, it would be cool if they're gay, we now think it's not still homophobic and patriarchal to go, oh, they're a man is in touch with their emotions and has some feminine tendencies. Amazing. They must be gay. That's the same shit as when we go, they must be gay, I hate it. Yeah. Just because you like it doesn't make it not weird still. 100%. It's still a weird thing to assume. Anyway.
I feel like somehow women still get the short end of the stick in that scenario of like, oh, if you want to impress people or do something outside of what is expected for your gender, be an asshole. Like, it's, that sounds terrible. I don't want to be an asshole.
Yeah.
I want to be rewarded for being kind. But if you're a woman and you show sensitivity and emotional availability and awareness, it's still like, oh, so you're just being a woman.
Well, women get the short end of the stick with that as well, because like androgyny is just masculine. And so it's fashionable for women to dress androgynous, which just means men's clothes.
Yeah.
Which isn't the same thing.
Yeah. The truth is both masculinity and femininity share good and bad traits, both of them. Like there's good things about being a woman and there's good things about being a man. And like being a woman and having feminine tendencies is not necessarily a negative because you're sensitive and caring. Like I've met people that are like, oh, she's just, what I like about her is that she's so masculine. It's like, do you like femininity? Or
it's like, it's not even inherently real or anything.
Yeah.
It just is that way because like fucking hundreds of years ago, Christian society decided that was so. And that doesn't, like, femininity and masculinity don't even have to be tied to manhood and womanhood, let alone anything else.
It'd be great to be able to separate traits from gender in particular.
All of this is to say, 50 Shades of Grey, I think, was all right.
Tangent number 1. Yeah, it was. Look, listen. I think. Yeah, did we start talking about that because of Sam Taylor Johnson?
Yes.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was shit, but it was all right.
Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't get horny or anything, but like, you know,
You didn't beat your meat,
oh no, I did, like, I still jerked off.
but you just weren't feeling it.
It just wasn't. I wasn't really that
Crying
into
a little bit.
No,
bit
I wasn't
distracted.
crying. I was just like, yeah.
Just doing it out of obligation.
No, I was just doing it, and I was like looking around me. I don't need this. I don't need this.
This is
at
for
all.
you guys.
I'm just doing it because I think it's what I'm supposed to do, but I don't need this at all.
Performative
For
sexuality.
audience perspective, I'm like shaking my hand as if to masturbate the whole time while saying that.
Yeah.
Which I guess I realize now is a visual that doesn't translate.
Wasted on them.
Wasted on just you.
Are you like flicking the bean, or are you also like giving me some gnarly rap where you're like throwing your hands back and forth?
Definitely flicking the bean. I'm talking about masturbating.
Never
Why would I
heard-
be like
I've never heard someone say flicking the bean so indignantly before.
talking
Excuse
about
me.
flicking my
I'm
bean?
definitely talking about masturbation, you fuck. You fucking idiot.
I was rubbing my clit, you fucking freak.
Ooh.
You idiot.
Should I get into the overview so we
Yeah.
can just get straight into this
I think
film?
we need something to keep
We need
us here.
something. This is the first film of the 50 Shades of Grey franchise, something we are very familiar with at this point.
Yeah.
It was based on the books by E.L. James. And as we
Mm-hmm.
know, E.L. James started writing these books as a Twilight fan fiction. She later changed the names and developed the storyline to make it 50 Shades of Grey.
We've now covered, apart from the original Twilight, all the Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey movies.
Yeah, we're really up to date with these two. I read that Stephanie Meyer, when they asked for her comment on like what she thought of 50 Shades of Grey, she was like, yeah, not really my thing. Like, really not into it. Like, really not my thing. But I'm glad she's doing well. Happy for her. And I was like, she seems uncomfortable by the correlation that she's got with this franchise. Because she's incredibly Christian, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's Mormon.
Oh, she's Mormon, that's right.
Isn't she?
Yeah.
I hope I'm remembering that
I mean, like, Twilight is all about them not having sex.
Oh, yeah.
And even when they have sex, Edward is like, let's not do it again.
I remember reading an episode where like Edward basically nuts over her Bella's like beige
skirt.
floor length beige
Yeah.
skirt.
Yeah. And then when they do have sex in the final film, he's like, that was so dangerous. Let's not do it again. I can't believe I've made you pregnant. I'm a monster.
It's somehow even more milquetoast than this.
Yeah. So I can imagine Stephanie Meyer is like, oh my God, at this franchise that is all about quote unquote kinky sex. It was directed by Sam Taylor Johnson, as we know.
Mm-hmm.
It was written by Kelly Marcel. She did the screenplay, and E.L. James did the novel, and she had a huge say in the script, which is something I will get into in the trivia.
Because I have vague memory of someone telling me that like she was very into having creative control over the script of this.
She didn't want them to deviate like whatsoever, which meant that like fans of the book could watch this film and know exactly what line was coming because it was a copy of the book.
It's definitely its weakest element.
Yep. And we will hear from Kelly Marcel later on that. E.L. James, when I looked her up, just like she even said, she was like, I can't believe 50 Shades of Grey became so famous. It's literally just my fantasies. Imagine being her husband and being like, what? That's your fantasy? Is a 27-year-old billionaire?
I'm sorry, I'm not some big
my
hunk
God.
billionaire, my guy.
Fuck.
No, I think she's allowed to have fantasies outside of her
Yeah.
marriage.
Yeah.
You know?
Hey, as long as he's fine with it, you know?
Yeah. They could even role play. Do you think she role plays with him as Christian
Probably.
and her as Dakota Johnson? Not as Anastasia Steele, as Dakota Johnson.
Here's the overview. Anastasia Steele interviews Christian Grey, a billionaire entrepreneur, for her college newspaper. Christian takes an interest in her and invites Anna for coffee, but leaves abruptly after she confesses to being a romantic. He says he is not the man for her. After drinking too much one night, Anna spontaneously calls and berates Christian. He picks her up, and the next morning, she wakes up in his hotel room relieved that they were not intimate. Christian insists that she sign a non-disclosure agreement if they are to have sex. He shows her his playroom and they have conventional sex, whereupon she loses her virginity. What?
I forgot until I watched the movie and only just remembered now that she was a virgin.
Yeah.
It's fine if you, listener, are a virgin, but for this movie, that's a really funny choice.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Christian bestows a series of gifts, and she's meant to be 21, by the way. Like, she's 21.
Which is old for a modern day American
is.
woman to
It
be
is.
a virgin. And again, still fine or whatever,
Yeah.
but very funny, and just because she's about to fuck a 27-year-old billionaire contractually.
It suggests she's never had a boyfriend. In this day and
Yeah.
age, if you have a boyfriend, she doesn't seem like she comes from a particularly religious household.
But I think it's that like hangover from Bella of like
Yeah.
written by religious author thing.
And again, it's more tantalizing for Christian to get to deflower a virgin, right?
I don't think she'd be a virgin if an Australian wrote this. We just don't have that kind of culture.
Christian bestows a series of gifts and favors upon Anna, including a new car and a laptop. Anna visits her mother in Georgia and is shocked when Christian shows up and essentially hijacks her holiday.
Yeah.
Anna experiments with BDSM with Christian, but his emotional distance bothers her. After she asks Christian to spank her, Anna leaves him, sure that he is now the wrong man for her.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And then it just ends.
Yeah.
It just ends.
They do the whole like, Anna, Christian, as the elevator shuts.
Which I know it's like meant to be like a cliffhanger and enticing me for the next one, and they already wanted to, but like, what an unsatisfying way to end a movie.
I mean, they clearly did know. They were like, okay, well, we these are a series of books. This is how the first book ended. E.L. James will not let us deviate.
Yeah,
We've got to end it this way.
But like, Fellowship of the Ring still ends. It's the first
it
of
still
3
has
movies that were made.
a satisfying ending.
But it's a whole movie.
Yeah.
You can have movies that like will continue and cliffhanger,
Yeah.
but like
It feels complete.
Empire Strikes Back is kind of a cliffhanger, but it's a whole movie.
Whereas this is like, it's just a cliffhanger at the end, being like, what will they do next? How will he win her back?
It kind of felt like they replaced the 30 minutes of the third act with another 30 minutes of I wrote down the cycle of this movie is just they go travel on a mode of transport, they fuck, and then they fight.
He takes her, it's always a mode of transport. It's either a yacht or it's a helicopter or they go hang gliding or
Yeah.
they go bungee jumping.
Yeah.
And then they're like, ah!
Often
and then,
there's the air or sea involved.
and then they have a very quiet discussion about his traumatized childhood and her trying to get through to him emotionally. And then he fucks her.
And then they fight.
And then they fight
And
the
she'll
next
leave.
morning.
And then he'll show up and they'll travel somewhere again.
Yep. And he'll take her on another helicopter ride. I fucking love, was it 50 Shades Freed?
I think Darker was the one that had what
Darker,
we
the
described.
helicopter accident?
Oh, the accident. Yeah,
Where,
that was in Darker.
he just like appears and he's like,
Yeah.
I'm fine. And they're
Zero
like, oh my
tension.
God.
I thought you were talking about the Nespresso ad.
What about the Ralph Lauren ad on the
Oh,
yacht?
that's true. I think that was the beginning of Freed.
I don't know.
I mean,
man.
all
It
of the
blends
scenes in
into
this
one.
felt the same thing as well. It felt like a tourism ad for like the Northern Territory, especially.
yeah.
Especially the helicopter bit. It'd be like, whoa, whoa. And then
Yeah.
it would like come up with like, it'd crossfade to a white screen that just says like Kings Canyon or
I can't
something.
believe they literally wrote in a helicopter accident for Christian and then he just appears like an hour later and he's like, I'm fine.
Not an hour later, they're looking at the news of it. It's like 2 minutes later.
As soon as Anna's like, oh my God, is he alive? He just walks through the door and he's like, yep.
I will say the 2 minutes of tension is more tension than this movie has.
Yeah, this has got nothing.
The dramatic tension in this movie is between me, the audience, and Anastasia Steele's clearly bad decision to indulge this man.
So what I find interesting about this film that I noticed from a lot of reviews is that a lot of critics have labeled their sexual experiences together as like abusive, which it is not, because it is always consenting. Like there's no rape in this film. And yet some people try and classify some of the stuff that they do as rape, which is not the case. The bothersome thing is more the emotional manipulation,
Yeah.
the power he tries to exert over her life. The fact that he hijacks that trip away when she's meant to see
Yeah.
her mum really bothers me. The fact that he just shows up and then he takes her away on his trip. I'm like, she went there to see her mum. you
Yeah,
fuck.
like I don't know if I would classify it the same way as some of those critics, but he is emotionally abusive
Yeah,
and
he is.
manipulative.
He
like
is.
he gets really angry at her.
And financially, like I feel like he gets her gifts expecting something back.
Yeah,
Like I'll fix your car and I'll get your laptop. Look how much money I have.
he's like
You have to submit.
fully dominating her life.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
before she even signs the contract.
Sex is not the issue. The
Like,
sex is fine.
She has to ask for her car back.
Yeah, and then he
because
says, "I sold it."
He just sells it.
And then she's like, "Great, I'll give me the money for it."
That's
then.
a fucked up thing to do.
Yeah, why would you sell someone's car without
It's-
telling them?
And also, like, he is a billionaire who is a bit older, who is instantly like, you have to sign this contract so we can fuck, and then we're gonna fuck, and then I'm gonna hit you.
Yeah.
Which, like, it can be kinky, whatever. But, like, I understand why some people are like, this is not okay.
Well, the stuff in the bedroom, or the playroom as he calls it, which by the way, it just makes my fucking vagina shrivel up into itself. There's so many things that Christian says that makes my vagina shrivel, and I have them listed down. But the fact, like, it's fine if it happens in the playroom. If you want to, like, role play in that submissive, dominant, whatever the fuck, that's fine. But it's more like every time he does anything dominant outside of the playroom or the bedroom, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
The way he's trying to tell her what she can do, where she can go, how she can dress, who she can talk to.
Drunk at the party.
Yeah, and
she's
he's
not like messy drunk. She's not like in danger drunk. She's just regular drunk, and he gets angry
He's
at
like,
her.
you're being irresponsible. He doesn't know her.
Yeah,
He's
they've
met her
two
twice,
times,
yeah.
and he gets angry at
He's
her.
like, what you did was really reckless and dangerous. And she goes, I know.
She's a grown woman.
Yeah.
she's living her own life.
Yeah.
It
And
is-
when he's like, if you were mine, you wouldn't be able to walk for a week afterwards. And she was like, what? Like,
comparatively, the way this movie instead like treats the sex things as like when they go into the playroom, and she's like, oh my God. There's literally a show on Netflix called How to Build a Sex Room, which isn't even like a raunchy show.
Yeah.
It's just a regular, if anything, almost wholesome, regular reality show.
it's so weird how, like, Anastasia is 21, a virgin, probably hasn't watched porn. Like, she's so strangely innocent. It's creepy the way it was written. Like, E.L. James creeps me the fuck out. Like, her fantasy about this incredibly naive and innocent young woman, because the Anastasia in the movies, from what I've read, is far more assertive than the Anastasia in the books. And that's insane, because in the movies,
This is her being more assertive?
Yeah.
Oh,
in the
because
books,
every time she is, I'm like, thank God she said it.
Yeah, in the books, apparently she's a lot more submissive just as a person.
Oh my God.
It's bizarre. So for me,
weird.
I'm like, the sex, there's no question that there's no rape in this.
But I will say, I think that works as fan fiction, where it is your own fantasy, because you know that you're in for that journey and that you're consenting to
to be
that.
fair, I feel like this was E.L. James saying, like, I just wrote what I wanted to write, and then a bunch of people really liked it.
Yeah, it's like in sex, I might want to do that
Yeah.
as like a role play thing. But then like when it's a full story, you're presenting like this woman's character trait is that she's submissive and being taught the world by this weirdly domineering, aggressive billionaire.
Yeah. And God, Christian is just so cringy. So can I read you some of the
Yes.
the things that I had noted down? These were just some of my favorite Christian Grey quotes. I'd like to fuck you into the middle of next week.
Yeah,
I don't make love, I fuck hard.
that's a
Because
that's
I'm
such a
50
great moment.
because I'm 50 shades of fucked up, Anastasia.
No, that was funny. They had to know that's funny. That's a bit, right? Because that means SNL can't do it.
Yeah. And then also what I loved is when they were trying to exhibit the fact that he was a billionaire, very busy, clearly not busy enough because he had a lot of time to spare tracking down Anastasia.
He's not really that busy
He
at all.
hasn't got a lot on. When he's on the phone getting called back to Seattle and he's like, that's not going to work. What? Well, then tell them they don't have 24 hours. This is unacceptable. I need to know. Just keep me informed. Like, I love E.L. James thinking, this is what businessmen talk about.
Can I had a similar one actually. I mean, you can keep.
Oh, no, you go.
I had a similar one, which was when he shows up unexpectedly at the holiday, and then he like turns around to the waiter to order a drink, and he's like, "I'll have a gin and tonic, Hendrix if you have it, otherwise Bombay Sapphire." I'm like, this guy's a fucking like Hendrix is not bad gin or anything, but the guy's a billionaire.
Yeah, why wouldn't you get...
His taste is Hendrix or Bombay Sapphire.
Hendrix is my taste, and I have like $2,000 in the bank account.
Yeah, that's like if I was like, oh yes, I'm going to be fancy, right? This person who loves vodka, I'll have a Grey Goose. Smirnoff instead. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about?
Oh my God. No, that's such a good point. Also, I took down some quotes. I looked up some quotes from the book as well. And I've got some linked to some trivia later, but I did want to share 3 different quotes from the book, just so you get an idea of the way that this was written, because all of these quotes are directly from the book. The whole I'd like to fuck you into the middle of next week, and I don't make love, I fuck hard. These are all direct quotes from the book. So I was like, what else was in the book? And I found some great excerpts, and a lot of this is Anastasia's inner dialogue, where she describes, as they're having sex, desire pools dark and deadly in my groin. I'll repeat that for you. Desire pools dark and deadly in my groin.
Pools. Pools.
Desire pools dark and deadly in my groin.
Why is it deadly?
Why is it pooling?
I kind of get that, and like
it pools in my groin.
Like it's like,
it doesn't sound hot.
It's like filling. I don't know. I kind of get that part of it. I just wouldn't describe my desire as deadly.
It's almost like saying like desire puddles dark and deadly in my groin.
No, it's not the same as saying that,
I think
because that's a lot worse. That's a much worse line.
I think it evokes the exact same imagery.
Oh yeah, all it needs to do is just be a different line, and it would be yeah.
Here's another one. Grabbing it quickly, I squirt toothpaste on it and brush my teeth in double quick time. I feel so naughty. It's such a thrill.
You gotta know that she said squirts toothpaste is like trying to be erotic, right? For sure.
Squirt toothpaste.
What is it, double quick time?
Double quick time. Here's another one. Oh, the sweet agony. Sorry.
Oh, so Abby just got so aroused.
I just pooled in my underwear. Oh, the sweet agony. His hands clasp my hips. He sets a punishing rhythm, in, out, and he reaches around and finds my clitoris, massaging me. Oh, geez, I can feel myself quicken. It's the quickening, McLeod.
She's getting fucked. I can feel it.
Can you feel it, McLeod?
Can you feel it, McLeod?
I only have sex if we can role play as. That's my kink. Right?
Yes. It's the quickening, McLeod. I didn't remember that scene of Highlander, but it was pretty hot.
Yeah, that raunchy sex scene.
Desire puddles.
Well, after Heather dies, he's got to get satisfaction somewhere.
Yeah.
Him and Ramirez.
Squirting toothpaste, double quick time.
Double quick time.
In New York City, my home.
I can feel it.
I can feel it.
I am quickening. There's just her choice of words. The way that she writes is bizarre. Apparently, the first time she ever wrote a book ever was 50 Shades of Grey. And it shows.
Yeah.
It shows.
That tracks.
Yeah.
That totally tracks.
It's just remarkable that you can be incredibly average at something, but just skyrocket to success overnight.
Yeah. I think
the power of fan fiction.
I honestly think that's a lot of people.
I should have continued my fan fiction career.
Because a lot of it is luck. I mean, hey, maybe you should have.
Maybe I should have.
Honestly, like sometimes I read and I'm like, this is so good, and I'm not like, I should write a book. But then I think about people like that, and I'm like, I don't know, because I don't have to be good yet. I could just keep going. Maybe I can get good along the way.
Yeah.
The guy who wrote Aragon wrote it at like 18, which is crazy.
To be fair, I feel like fan fiction is a great gateway into learning how to write in general. Like I feel like it was really good for me to try and like to write a lot of fan fiction in my teen years, because it kept me feeling creative and testing out new methods of writing. It was really fun, but it's a gateway.
That YA author Cassandra Clare, like she started from fanfic, and like her early books, hey, if you're a fan of it, I'm so sorry. I think they're awful. Yeah. I really don't like them. The more recent stuff, it's not my kind of book, but she's improved. She's better, right? So, you don't have to be good yet.
Yeah.
Just keep doing it anyway.
Yeah.
I by the way, one other, there were two more things. One was that there's the bit where they signing the contract, where they're in like a red lit room.
Yeah.
And it definitely feels like the scene is pitched of like, isn't this fucking hot?
Yeah.
As they're going over the like legalese of the document, I'm like, a scene in which they're signing a legal contract and she is saying, no, I'm not into that, like 10 times, not hot.
No.
I puckered up. No puddles to be found.
My pool dried up.
My desire yanked back.
My pool was a mirage. It is in fact still desert down here. I feel like apparently Dakota Johnson said that scene was her favorite in the film.
Really?
Don't know why.
I don't think it's a bad scene. I just don't think it's hot.
No.
And then, I mean, like the last thing that I had in my notes is I noticed her dad. It's Leoben.
I know.
From Battlestar.
Yeah.
But we saw he was in like the newspaper in Butterfly Effect 2.
Yeah.
That counts.
Oh my god.
All-star.
All-star. Leoben from Battlestar.
I do not remember the actor's name, but Leoben from Battlestar.
It's a weird name. It's like it's one of those 3 names.
That's so fucked up.
That's crazy.
3.
Callum is in there somewhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know. He doesn't look like a Callum, does he?
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
I don't think on Battlestar his character had a last name. I think it was just Leoben.
Just Leoben.
Maybe he did, though.
Yeah.
I know,
and he was totally not a Cylon.
Hey, look, it's good save. Good dodge.
Thanks.
Nice.
Thanks.
It's like within the first hour, so it's not so
true.
bad.
It's not really a reveal.
The reveal that he is not a Cylon. Oink.
I have to say that something for me, like the cringiest scene of the entire thing for me was their first meeting, that first interview. I found it like insufferable to watch.
Yeah.
The way that she like falls into the office and she's like, oh my God, I don't think I'd fit in. I mean, look at me. And he's like, I am. I find flirtation really cringy. I've told you this.
That's not flirting. That she is uncomfortable and he's being weird. That's not flirting.
I don't know if she's uncomfortable. She's kind of eyeing him up and down as well. Like she thinks he's hot.
Well, she's baffling because she is at once. I think she's meant to be like flustered because he's so handsome, as well as uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's just how Dakota Johnson's playing the character.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
She reads to me as I don't want to be here. I want to get out of here.
I also hate the really soft voice she has to put on for it, being like, what do you think? Maybe you're softer than you like to let on.
I don't like the first scene, but the first scene feels like sometimes when you watch a movie, you can like see the short. Like in Whiplash, the scene, are you rushing or dragging is like the main scene of the short. And you can kind of tell because it feels like such a set piece.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, a film that was a spec short. Seeing this, I'm like, oh, that's it. Like, that's the scene that E.L. James wrote and was like, fuck, I could make a book out of this.
Yeah,
you know?
I think I might fucking beat one off tonight to this scene. Thinking about them having sex later.
I think I'm gonna beat down.
I think I'm gonna crank one out, if you don't mind.
I think I'm gonna have a good old trip to Pound Town. Hey, excuse me, ticket to Jerk Off City. I'm going to be fingering the Orient Express.
Declined. Absolutely not. Get off of my train.
Come on. This is one Death on the Nile.
Oh my God.
I don't know why I got into this murder mystery.
Death on the Nile's not even on a train.
No, I know. But it just...
Where did that come from?
I'm saying you could really say anything and it could sound sexy. I'm going to go print some sheets, if you know what I mean.
I'm going to go... snorkel.
I think I'm going to go squirt some toothpaste, if you catch my drift.
I think I'm going to start quickening.
I need a glass of water, if you know what I mean.
I have a lot of trivia.
Oh, I'm so into it.
IMDb trivia.
So this is kind of nice. I feel like Sam Taylor Johnson was really about making sure that Jamie Dornan and... Is it Dornan or Doran? Dornan.
Sorry, I'm busy chuckling because I wish I added to the last batch of us saying sexual innuendo. I'm going to go shit my pants.
Apparently she really wanted to make the 2 lead actors really comfortable with each other. That was her priority, was making sure the intimacy was like not forced and really comfortable.
I mean, it feels like it should be a requirement, but that's still neat.
But I'm like, I guess, I don't know. It seems like they were in safe hands, which is great. Apparently, remote-controlled cameras were utilized for a majority of the sex scenes, so the set could be more private for the actors.
It's nice.
Apparently, the stunt coordinator said that in some of the wilder scenes, and by the way, when they say wilder, I still feel like the kinky sex they have in this is so slow and subdued. I feel like he never loses control. He's just like... It's always boring, at least in my opinion.
I do appreciate, though, that it never feels like I'm ogling them.
Yeah.
Which is the thing of like, like the raunchy 80s sex comedy.
Yeah.
Whenever there's tits, it's like, whoa, look at the tit. Whereas in this, it's just like human bodies.
Yeah, 100%.
I appreciate that.
Apparently the stunt coordinator said that in some of the wilder scenes, the 2 lead actors had to spend hours naked in front of a full crew, which sounds terrifying, to be honest. Sounds difficult. Amelia Clarke turned down the lead role because she didn't want to be known for doing nude scenes after appearing naked in the first season of Game of Thrones.
She has gotten so protective about doing nudity since then, and I don't blame her at all.
You know what? This is a story Claude told me. So Claude had a high school teacher. Don't remember her name, but around the time I met him, he like met up with her for a drink. because he was thinking about going into teaching and he wanted to see, like, he wanted some advice. And they met up for a drink, and she said that she had a friend who was like one of the finalists for the role of Daenerys in Game of Thrones, like an actor. Yeah. And the reason she didn't get the part, and they told her this, the reason she didn't get the part is that her tits weren't big enough. So that's why they got Emilia Clarke.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised Emilia Clarke had a shit experience on Game of Thrones. Seems like a lot of women had shit experiences on Game of Thrones. So this is what we're talking about before. E.L. James wielded a large amount of creative control over everything from casting to the wardrobe to the final script. Unusual for any novelist, let alone one whose only published work was a single series of 3 books. This led to no end of disputes between her and Sam Taylor Johnson. While Taylor Johnson wanted to make a more streamlined adaptation, James was very protective of her book and vetoed even the most minor deviations from it. And since James was the one with the final say on all creative decisions, Taylor Johnson often found herself forced to go along.
Oh my God.
That sounds horrible.
Why? What? Like, I don't understand why. I guess the studio thought is someone is going to do an adaptation of this.
We've got
to get the rights. That's more important, I guess.
Yeah. I think she was able to wield a huge amount of control over her contract in the first place because they were just so desperate to get to adapt it first.
Yeah, because at first I was like, there's no way. It's not like some other authors where it's like they actually do have the weight to be able to do it.
Yeah.
I realize it only makes sense if it's like they're all rushing to get the rights. And that's the way they could beat the other studios to it.
Here's an example of something that got vetoed. Sam Taylor Johnson wanted the film to end with Anna stopping Christian from following her into the elevator by just saying their safe word, red, which I think is a really good idea.
That actually would have been great.
E.L. James vetoed this because it wasn't the line in the book.
But it's better.
It's better.
It is better.
It's
better.
almost as if Sam Taylor Johnson is a far more talented and creative person than E.L. James and probably had some really good insight into how to make it a successful film.
Well, she's a storyteller.
Yes.
Instead of just a smut writer.
Filthy smut writer.
Filthy smut writer.
Screenwriter Kelly Marcel revealed that she wasn't able to watch the film because it reminded her of how her original screenplay was eventually changed by the novel's author, E.L. James, and that the final script felt too much of a compromise for the screenwriter. She said the difference between what she imagined and what eventually ended up being on screen was too big of a mountain for her to overcome. When she delivered her draft, James told her that she liked it, but the fans wouldn't because they wanted a faithful adaptation. For days, Marcel and James worked on it together until the novelist was happy with the result, which Marcel calls 50% hers and 50% James. That's like 50%, like James did 50% of the script. That's insane. She wasn't the screenwriter.
I feel like you can feel it mostly in, as I said, like Anastasia sometimes has that pushback that really feels good. And then other times she's just so different.
Yes. Yeah, exactly right. I think that when I went through the plot again of this film and then I compared it to the plot of the book, it's pretty bang on.
Yeah.
Which means that it's not following the structure of a traditional film. It's following the structure of a bad book.
Which is probably why it feels like it just meanders and nothing really happens.
They're always 2.5 hours long and nothing happens except
sort of
intermittent montage sequences of them on a yacht and them on a plane.
Yeah.
I liked this. Well, I didn't like this, but I thought it was funny. Before Christian's speech at Anastasia's university, they show some photos of Christian Grey with various personalities. In the first of these, he is shown with Elon Musk. Yeah, which I fucking love that in this weird alternate timeline, he would be the kind of guy that would be buddies with Elon Musk. 100%.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And they'd be the fucking worst.
Absolutely. There's several comments he makes that make you realize, like, yes, he is a bad billionaire.
Yeah.
Like all of them.
In the 50 Shades trilogy books, the phrase, my inner goddess, is mentioned 115 times by Anastasia's inner monologue.
What?
This is how she often refers to herself. Example, my inner goddess is jumping up and down, clapping her hands like a 5-year-old. The movie does not mention or utilize Anastasia's inner goddess at all. So I went through and I grabbed some excerpts of her talking about her inner goddess. Here's a couple for you. I flush. My inner goddess is down on bended knee with her hands clasped in supplication, begging me. My inner goddess is beside herself, hopping from foot to foot. My inner goddess fist pumps the air above her chaise lounge. My inner goddess stirs from her 5-day sulk. My inner goddess is doing the merengue. Meringue? What's meringue?
Meringue. The whipped
No.
egg whites. What is it? How's it spelled?
Merengue. Merengue.
What is that?
I guess it's a dance.
Where's that word?
My inner goddess is doing the merengue with some salsa moves.
Yeah, how to dance merengue. Okay, it's a dance.
My inner goddess is doing the merengue with some salsa moves. My inner goddess is doing a triple axle dismount off the uneven bars, and abruptly my mouth is dry.
I feel like I'm about to be sold some essential oils. Like
My inner god, I cannot believe that's something she did in the books. My inner goddess. My inner goddess.
my inner goddess.
You sound deranged.
Yeah, it sounds like you're from the northern New South Wales and
You're from Byron.
and about to be radicalized into anti-vax stuff.
And you have some glamping tents for me to rent out. Also, director Sam Taylor Johnson omitted the scene from the novel where Christian removes Anna's tampon so they could have sex.
What?
The scene wasn't even discussed when the script was being written. Here's the excerpt from the book, sorry. He reaches between my legs and pulls on the blue string. What? And gently pulls my tampon out and tosses it into the nearby toilet. Holy fuck. Sweet mother of all. Jeez.
Okay, wait, hang on. So obviously it's not erotic. Like, obviously. However, I also want to pivot to you should not throw tampons in the toilet. You're going to fuck up the water system.
Yeah.
You should not throw your...
Yeah.
Hey, everyone listening who has periods, don't throw your tampons in the fucking toilet.
Why did she write it in? Like, it's so unnecessary.
It's so weird.
It's so weird. And they didn't even discuss it. Everyone was just like, we're not doing that.
Is she into that? Because it feels like no one else is.
Apparently, even she didn't bring it up. So
maybe she's like, all right, it's probably a bit
I was in a
much.
weird place.
You know, I didn't have an editor at that point. I just...
And lastly, this film was number 1 on the list 15 garbage movies with a ton of skin, published by website The Clever. I looked at that list just to see other films on this strange list.
Weird list.
15 garbage movies with a ton of skin. I guess they're just saying like 15 terrible erotic films.
But that's such a... Why both at once? It's a hat on a hat. It's like 15 movies that are erotic and bad.
Yeah. Well, I actually like reading the list was really fun because they are just saying like, they're like, hey, we're not against like intimacy and sex in films. We're against men exploiting women in particular in lots of films.
Okay.
And going through the list, a lot of these are terrible, but there's also a lot of films from the bottom 250 on this list, unsurprisingly.
Wow.
Like,
oh my God.
something coming up soon, Zombie Strippers came 13th.
Hey.
Piranha 3DD
Hey.
is 12. We were gonna watch Piranha, but we didn't, did we?
Yeah, we didn't in the end.
Striptease came 11th.
Yeah.
Actually, you know that film Cashback?
I've heard of it.
It's that British one with like the guy that played Oliver. Oh, I forgot his name. The Quidditch player from Harry Potter.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He plays like a guy in a supermarket, and it is a weird film because he like fantasizes about stopping time and then just ogling women, like taking their tops off, and it's like, this is a weird insight.
Yeah.
This is weird. Also on the list, Basic Instinct 2 came at number 8.
Basic Instinct 2, man. Oh, fuck,
When you were
that was a
talking
good
about
time.
the idea of ogling bodies, number 6 was a film called What, which seems to be exactly what that is. It's a Roman Polanski film that seems to really just be made to show off one particular woman's body.
Come on.
I know. Number 4 was Caligula with Helen Mirren, which was fucking crazy.
It's famous.
And yeah, number 1 on the list, the 50 Shades franchise.
There we go.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah, you know what? They were right. Those are some bad movies that
With a
show
lot of
skin.
I've got 2 goofs for you as well.
Ooh.
I thought these 2 were fairly funny. The other ones were like, meh, probably right. When Anna first arrives at Gray's building for the interview, she walks around the front of the car, stops, and looks up at the building, then continues towards the entrance. In doing so, she completely ignores the parking meter near the rear end of the car. As this is during working hours, surely she should have put some money in the meter.
You got him. You got him.
I also loved this because this is genuinely strange that the film did this. When Kate looks on the web for pictures of Christian Grey, you can see 2 of him that are taken from scenes that happen further on in the film. Christian in the coffee shop and him in Clayton's hardware store. Who the fuck?
It's really funny.
It's just lazy.
I gotta say about the parking meter one, like, obviously that is also, like, intentional. If, like, that's not an interesting piece of drama. As an editor, there's a lot of those, like, little things. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've cut people having to pour drinks, and you cut out the number of times the drink is actually poured because you're just trying to, like, get to the more dramatically interesting, and that you as an audience don't notice.
Yeah, 100%. There was one goof here actually that I took out, but I wish I left in, where they were like, the pencil that Christian gives Anna in the interview scene varies in sharpness from shot to shot.
How?
Who cares?
No, there's no way you can accurately tell the sharpness of the pencil. What are you talking about?
Do you want to hear some reviews?
I'd love to.
Reviews!
You're not going to believe this, but 50 Shades of Grey received generally negative reviews, with criticism of its acting, screenplay, and pacing. However, some critics noted it as an improvement over the book.
Brutal. Piece of shit. Absolutely hated it. Better than the book.
Rotten Tomatoes reported a 25% approval rating, which is higher than I expected. Claudia Puig? Sorry. Claudia Puig?
The way that you've said it is funnier than anything possible about the pronunciation.
Is it Puig?
Puig?
I think it's Puig. But okay, let me spell it out. It's Puig. Puig?
But then we get, maybe it's Irish and it's actually
Puig.
Pog.
Of USA Today wrote that the dialogue is laughable, the pacing is sluggish, and the performances are one note. Moira McDonald of the Seattle Times wrote 50 Shades of Grey, the movie, for the record, is not quite as bad as 50 Shades of Grey, the book. But that's not saying much.
It's still funny.
We Got This Covered critic Isaac Feldberg gave the film 1.5 stars out of 5 and wrote that it feels like 2 distinct films grappling for dominance over the screen. One a sensual and stylish romance, and the other a numbingly explicit Harlequin bodice ripper brought to life. Regrettably, the latter and lesser of the two ends up on top. And Peter Bradshaw from The Guardian gave the film 1 star out of 5, calling it the most purely tasteful and softcore depiction of sadomasochism in cinema history, with strictly daytime soap performances.
Yeah.
Here's a 10 out of 10 review left by Daniela Maria in 2015. And all the 10 out of 10 reviews, everyone was very happy it stuck very true to the books. Like, she was right in that respect, and that the fans loved it for that reason.
This is why I can never trust people who go like, it should have been made by the fans or whatever, because that's not good.
I know. It's silly. 3.6, is that even possible? So it's gone up in reviews. The movie was really good. Not great, but really good. It really exceeded my expectations. Of course that some parts of the movie should appear on the screen, but that was the choice of the director, and I agree with what has been done. When I arrived to the cinema, my mind was boiling and my heart was pounding really fast. Maybe some people will consider it ridiculous, but when it starts was a really joy to see it. Also, the actors made a really good job, especially Jamie and Dakota. The others basically didn't have much to say. However, I don't know how I will wait 2 more years for the next movie, since I read all the 3 books just a couple months ago. This time my expectations will be even more high, because we will see a different side of Christian. More tender, romantic, and generous man. 10 out of 10. Generous man.
Did this person say that their heart was boiling?
My heart was boiling. My mind was boiling and my heart was pounding.
Mind was boiling is actually even weirder. That's not a phrase. My mind was boiling.
It was crazy. Loved the book, loved the film. It was great. This is a 10 out of 10 review left by M. Vigo. I loved this film as I loved the book. The film is just like the book. The actors are perfect. They play the fictional characters perfectly. It's corny, but so is the book. Is that not why we read books? No. Don't watch the film if you're expecting something other than the book. The sex scenes were great, and I love the storyline. It tamed bondage and a love story, basically. Christian Grey is pretty hot, and I like the actor. He did a good job, as did Anastasia's actor. Some people's reviews are just trying to ruin the film. I went to see it with my husband. We loved it. Wink. My sister and her husband loved it, and so did my friends. We age range 20s to 40s. I am going again in the week. 10 stars. Bring on the next.
What executive wrote this to justify including the demographic? I'm aged 18 to 45. It's corny. Why else would you read a book?
Why else? And this one is another 10 out of 10 review left by STCA Mazzola. Called Great Film. Might not be for everyone. Haters gonna hate. This was a fantastic movie. Never read the book. But my heart was pounding the entire movie. How often do you see something truly unique hit the big screen anymore? I went with my wife, and we loved it. All you can think the entire movie is, could you imagine? Oh, holy, what the fuck? Totally mental, yet completely awesome.
What?
10 out of 10.
What parts were they going, oh, mental, holy shit.
Totally mental, yet completely awesome. Fucked me up.
It's that, I want to make that my new bio. Totally mental, yet completely awesome.
10 out of 10.
That's not how I would describe mild bondage.
Well, how would you describe mild bondage, Michelle?
It's not even
If you're going to
bondage.
give it a rating.
Does
out
she
of
really
10.
get tied up in this one?
I don't know. I can't
She
remember.
really does. She gets lightly whipped and
Yeah,
then
she gets
aggressively
spanked.
hit. I don't know what I meant to feel in that last bit, by the way.
Yeah.
When she is demanding that he hit her harder than she wants to. I don't like it. I don't like it. Anyway,
Yeah.
not to get back into it. I don't know. My review, look, it's not great, but like it really isn't good as a movie. just to be upfront, but I can tell it's made by like someone who knows how to tell a story, and there is 50% of like a better version of this. It is really funny still for everything to be like, it's rubbish. It's better than the book. It's so funny. But like, it isn't good. It's not a story. Nothing happens. They make a lot of hay out of sex that has been very normalized.
Yes.
It's really not a lot. And I said this on both of the other ones. I don't like the way that he describes himself as a dominant in the same way that you would say I'm trans or I'm a lesbian. I just don't.
It's like a preference in the bedroom, but it's not an identity.
Like, I feel like he would say like he would want to go to Pride.
Yeah.
I'm included. No.
Yeah, it's the way that most people think that like kinks are part of the LGBT community, and it's like it's not. There's overlap.
But there's at least a historical like
overlap.
tie, right? With those things. There's like been a lot of kink in the queer community, and that's why like kink should be at Pride. There's a lot of tying of those things together. But
So
kink
therefore,
isn't
wouldn't he
inherently
be at
queer.
Pride?
No, because it isn't inherently queer, but there is
Yeah.
a tie between those things. It's not a part of queer, but it isn't inherently queer.
I don't know. I just
mean?
find it a strange addition to the community. I feel like it's like there's definitely an overlap. Nothing wrong with it at all. But I feel like I don't know. It shouldn't come into identity in that respect.
But
Again, it's
part of,
more like
the
a thing that you
early
enjoy.
History of the queer community, as well as like things about sexual oppression and stuff. But like being a billionaire, being a dominant is not sexual oppression. No one is oppressing Christian Grey. I like this movie. I don't know. 3.9. I was going to say 4, but I feel really weird having that high. 3.9. Just because I think I gave 50 Shades Darker or Freed something close to that.
I feel like, again, in the interest of trying to pull down our average scores that we are dishing out right now, I'm going to give it a 3.
You're course correcting so hard.
I am. I'm going to give it a 3. Look, the actual like validity of these scores and these ratings went out the window a long time ago.
No, the scores, because we've said before, we don't necessarily believe in the let's reduce art into a score system. Us giving a score is both playing into the fact that we're here because of the system, as well as it is a macro study of what happens to two people's brains when you subject them to this many of these movies.
And we've had the results, and I would like to counter those results and go in the other direction now.
You're throwing off the data.
I have to.
Instead, you clearly see our minds, like, statistically turn to mush.
Yes, absolutely. How are our scores getting higher while the films are getting lower? It makes no sense.
I think it's because they're going from, like, mediocre movies that are nothing, like fucking Chipwrecked, to hard swing and a miss.
Yeah. Well,
Was it worth it? Was it worth it?
Barely came out.
It sounded like you were going to fully throw up. You come here.
It felt that way.
You come onto my podcast, not ours, mine, and you almost throw up.
Well, Michelle, remember when I vomited in my mouth a little bit a couple of weeks ago?
I do remember that.
Or a while
I
ago.
wish I didn't, but I do remember that.
It was a highlight for me and for you and listeners, for my mum and my dad. Well, Michelle, that was our reviews. Guys,
I can't believe we're like 120 deep or something, and you still cannot pivot for the life of us.
All right, well, that was the reviews. You guys, you should follow us on social media. We're on Twitter at RateDescendPod. We're on TikTok at RatingDescending, or you can email us at ratingdescending@gmail.com.
Or if you listened and you were like, I think I'd prefer to see just those women. I don't want to encourage this behavior, but I think they're neat. Then you can find at least me on Twitter and Instagram at Michelle.St.
And I'm on Instagram under Abigail J. Ward.
And then, but if conversely you did go, you know what? I think that was pretty fair. I think that was a good effort for a podcast. A for effort at the very least. Then please leave us a review. Anywhere you get your podcasts. Please.
Please, God.
Oh my God.
Well,
I need it.
Michelle, that was 50 Shades of Grey. What are we watching next week?
Well, next week, I'm so sorry to say, we're watching The Apparition.
Is it the dreaded found footage?
Let me double check in this moment. I haven't watched it yet. This doesn't say found footage. It is a supernatural horror movie where the poster has someone trying to yell with a lot of hands on them, which we've seen like 5 of those.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like it's found footage. That's cool.
Promise?
I don't promise.
You
No,
promise
I don't
me?
promise that. I don't promise that at all. I don't know.
Look it up on Wikipedia.
Oh, no. The opening of it is found footage.
Okay.
And then it's more conventional movie. So it's both. It's both.
Okay, well, I guess we'll see you guys there.
For a New Year's spooky. Oh, this is Christmas.